In this video, we're going to talk about linear algebra with NumPy. I'll start by explaining zeros. We saw this earlier when using a loop, where we created an NP-zeros array as a placeholder. Let me quickly go back and show you. Right here, we had an NP-zeros array at the top, and then we filled it in using a loop. In this example, it's basically the same idea. We're creating a matrix with 2 rows and 3 columns, which serves as a placeholder. Once created, we can loop through and add elements to fill in the rows and columns. Next, we have the full function, which fills an array with a specific value. For example, if we wanted to fill all entries with the number 2, we could create a matrix with 2 rows and 4 columns where every element is 2. Now let's move on to the identity matrix, which is one of the most important matrices in linear algebra. It's used in many advanced concepts and is considered fundamental. The identity matrix has ones along the diagonal and zeros elsewhere. Each time you multiply a matrix by an identity matrix, you get the same matrix back. Keep in mind that it must be a square matrix, so if we use np.I, we'll get ones across the diagonal and zeros everywhere else. Another important concept in linear algebra is the dot product. The dot product involves multiplying 2 matrices together. It's widely used in machine learning models, including in the Attention is All You Need paper developed by Google, which introduced the transformer architecture. In this example, we have 2 matrices. To compute the dot product, we multiply corresponding elements and sum them across each row and column. For instance, we multiply 1 by 5 plus 2 by 7, and so on. The next entry would be 1 by 6 plus 2 by 8. We repeat this process for each row and column pair to get the final result. The key rule to remember is that matrix multiplication only works when the number of columns in the first matrix equals the number of rows in the second matrix. For example, a 2 by 2 matrix multiplied by another 2 by 2 matrix works because the dimensions align. However, a 2 by 2 multiplied by a 1 by 2 matrix would not work because the inner dimensions don't match. On the other hand, if we multiply a 2 by 2 matrix by a 2 by 1 matrix, the result would be a 2 by 1 matrix, 2 rows and 1 column. Here's another useful operation called matrix multiplication. In this case, the shapes are both 2 by 2, so the multiplication works perfectly. When computed, it produces a 2 by 2 result, which can also be seen as part of a 3-dimensional array when grouped with others. For example, if we take the first batch, 1, 2, 3, 4, and multiply it by 9, 10, 11, 12, we compute 1 times 9 plus 2 times 11 for one entry, and 1 times 10 plus 2 times 12 for the next. The process repeats for the bottom row. Then, in the second batch with 5, 6, 7, 8 multiplied by 13, 14, 15, 16, we do the same to get the final matrix. Now let's talk about solving a system of linear equations. Suppose we have the equation ax equals b. Usually, we know a and b, and we want to solve for x. In NumPy, we can do this using np.linearalgebra.solve. If you have a 1-dimensional array and a 2-dimensional array, this function will solve for x and return a 1-dimensional array as the result. Finally, let's discuss taking the inverse of a matrix, which is another crucial concept in linear algebra. The idea is that if you multiply a matrix A by its inverse, you get the identity matrix. A matrix is invertible only if its determinant is not 0, and we'll explore determinants in more detail in the next section. To compute the inverse in NumPy, we simply use np.linearalgebra.inv. When we multiply the inverse by the original matrix, we get ones along the diagonal and values very close to 0 in the off-diagonal positions. These small numbers occur due to floating point precision, but conceptually they represent zeros. At times, these values were shown as 0, but they should actually be 0. Now, if the determinant of matrix A is not equal to 0, then the matrix is invertible. If the determinant of A equals 0, then the matrix is not invertible. In this case, it is invertible, as we saw when we successfully computed its inverse. If it were not invertible, NumPy would have returned an error message. Here's another very important concept: finding eigenvalues and eigenvectors. This is quite simple to compute using the NumPy function for eigendecomposition, which returns both the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. In this example, the eigenvalues are 1 and 5. The first eigenvector, corresponding to the eigenvalue 1, is approximately 0.9 and negative 0.32, rounding slightly to simplify. The eigenvalue 5 corresponds to the second eigenvector. That's the basic idea of how to interpret an eigenvalue-eigenvector matrix. Now let's calculate a covariance matrix. We discussed this earlier when we saw that the diagonals represent variances and the off-diagonals represent covariances. The covariances are always equal because taking the covariance of x and y is the same as taking the covariance of y and x. However, the variances can differ, especially if the random variable samples are spread out differently. That's perfectly normal. When computing a covariance matrix, it's important to understand how the data is organized. Usually, in a dataset, columns represent features and rows represent observations. For example, if we were predicting housing prices, one column might represent square footage, while another could represent distance from a subway station. Each row would represent one house. So when we calculate the covariance matrix, we set row variance equal to false because we want the columns to represent the feature variables. The resulting matrix shows the variances along the diagonal and covariances off the diagonal. Always double check that the diagonals look reasonable, as they should reflect the spread of each feature. Now that we've covered the fundamentals of linear algebra, let's see how these ideas are applied in linear regression. Typically, we have an equation where the beta coefficients are multiplied by the independent variables or x values, and the result predicts the dependent variable y. Each beta represents the magnitude of the effect of that variable. For example, in a health model, if age increases, blood pressure might also increase. Beta quantifies that effect. In this case, y is the target variable, such as health, and x is the matrix of input features. We also add a column of ones to x to account for the intercept term. You might use a NumPy function like npfull or nprepeat to create that column, depending on your data setup. After defining x and y, we use matrix operations to calculate beta using the formula, the inverse of x transpose times x multiplied by x transpose times y. The resulting coefficients might be 1.5 and 0.8, representing the magnitude of two feature effects. Always pay attention to the shapes of your matrices. For example, x might have a shape of 4 by 2, 4 rows and 2 columns, while x transpose would be 2 by 4. The y vector is a one-dimensional array, and the resulting beta coefficients also form a one-dimensional array of length 2. Checking shapes after matrix operations helps prevent errors. Another key application of linear algebra, used across fields like machine learning and quantitative finance, is principal component analysis, PCA. In PCA, we center the data around its mean, compute its covariance matrix, and then perform eigendecomposition to find the eigenvalues and eigenvectors. We sort the eigenvalues in descending order and use the corresponding eigenvectors to form a projection matrix of the top k components. In this example, we create some sample data, compute the mean along axis 0, and subtract it to center the data. We then calculate the covariance matrix with row variance set to false. After computing the eigenvalues and eigenvectors, we sort them by descending eigenvalue magnitude. Finally, we project the centered data onto the new feature space by taking the dot product of the centered data with the selected eigenvectors. This projection gives us the principal components. That concludes our section on linear algebra. In the next session, we'll begin discussing sequences.